Welcome back to International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard, at the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the records and the dollars. And check it out. We got some real important news coming down the pipeline. Coming out the great state of Michigan. The Great Lakes state, that is. Let's jump right into it. New laws coming down pertaining to adult consensual sex workers. If you are found guilty of trafficking an adult consensual sex worker, the state of Michigan is trying to adopt the federal statutes when it comes to human trafficking. So that's life in prison for dealing with a minor. Leave those children alone. And it's 20 years plus if you are found guilty of dealing with an adult. And when it comes to sex trafficking, let's get straight off into this. Check it out.
Aim to close loopholes and hold traffickers responsible with tougher punishments. They'll also put survivors first and help them in their recovery process. News Channel 3's Ava Ray is joining us live in studio. And Ava, advocates are calling these bills a turning point when it comes to fighting trafficking.
Yeah, and a big part of that is focus on prevention. Attorney General Dana Nessel calls human trafficking modern-day slavery. She was just one of several notable figures in Lansing today pushing for these changes. State leaders say human trafficking is happening in our neighborhoods, our cities, and every corner of the state. It's why they're introducing new bills designed to crack down on traffickers and help survivors.
The legislation now being introduced is an important and necessary step forward. These bills are about accountability and putting victims first.
Officials say human trafficking is a global industry, estimated at $236 billion worldwide every year. And some of that is happening in Michigan, and that's why lawmakers are taking action. As part of the package of bills, the legislation would make it easier for victims to clear criminal records, give them more legal protections, and strengthen penalties against traffickers. Robin Bowles knows the reality of human trafficking better than most. She survived it. She says this package of bills could give survivors a chance to reclaim their lives, and that the legislation could be life-changing.
People's lives are in jeopardy, and it should never come down to a bipartisan or a party that you lean towards more than the other. This is human rights. This is lives on the line.
Michigan rated an F in 2023 by national anti-trafficking organizations for its existing laws, a clear benchmark for how much work is needed.
There's not waiting for a new package that's better tomorrow. We can't. We have to start somewhere. And we've come a long ways from the 90s, but we still have so far to go. And if we're ever going to stay 1 foot ahead, which we're not because we score an F, then we need to do better in legislation. We need to support survivors. We need victim advocates. We need the laws to support that.
This push is just the beginning. Now the challenge is getting it through the legislature. We have posted the National Human Trafficking Hotline and local resources on our website for anyone needing help or wanting to learn how to spot the signs.
Okay, let's go through this story. They say it's a $236 billion industry. That's what they say. But let's check this out. New laws coming down the pipeline in the great state of Michigan pertaining to sex trafficking / human trafficking of both adults and minors. Let's check it out. Lansing, Michigan. Michigan ranks among the top states for human trafficking. A new bill package introduced in Lansing is trying to change that by overhauling current legislation to offer better protections for victims, especially children, and stronger punishment for those who exploit them. Let's check out what these stronger punishments are. Here we go. Senate Bill 520 and 524 were presented Thursday for the first time in front of the Senate Committee of Civil Rights, Judiciary, and Public Safety, a bipartisan group of senators. Michigan is now 5th in human trafficking in this country, said Senator Rosemary Bayer, D13. Supporters of this bill points to the F grade. They said Michigan was getting an F grade for human trafficking. Supporters of the bill point to the F grade that Michigan has repeatedly received from Shared Hope International for its laws around child sex trafficking. They're coming down very hard on these child sex traffickers. You deal with a child. Dealing with minors, first of all, is a major problem. You deal with a child, they're looking to give you life in prison without the possibility of parole in the Great Lakes states, in the state of Michigan, adopting the same laws as the federal. Okay, let's continue. Here we go. The state's current laws are behind federal standards, according to advocates, particularly when it comes to protecting minors. Aligning Michigan law with the federal definition of a child trafficking victim is one of several major changes proposed in a bill. And they're looking for this to come down in 2026. You know, just a few months from 2026, you want to go to Michigan. You get caught up with a minor. You want to deal with minors? They got something for you in the state of Michigan. A lot of these states are adopting these federal laws. That'll be life without parole. Dealing with the minors is a major problem. You want to deal with a minor, you get caught up in the great state of Michigan. They're looking to give you life in prison without the possibility of parole. Yeah, take heed to that. Here we go. Right now, 16 and 17-year-old victims can be arrested in Michigan for prostitution. They said 16 and 17-year-olds can be arrested for prostitution in Michigan. Under the bill, the term prostitution would be changed to commercial sex. And minors would no longer face criminal penalties for their involvement, but rather would be treated as victims. So you deal with a 17-year-old or below in the state of Michigan, that would be considered a minor, and they will hit you over the head. They're looking to hit you over the head with these federal laws. Here we go. The legislation also focuses on strengthening the punishments faced by convicted traffickers and buyers, with bigger fines and time behind bars. If these bills pass, the state of Michigan will now be on the record telling those who traffic a child that they may be going to prison for the rest of their life. You hear that? We're going to take that from the top and read that again. If these bills pass, the state of Michigan will now be on record telling those who traffic a child that they may be going to the prison for the rest of their lives. You hear that? Leave those children alone. Senator John DeMoose said during Thursday's hearing. Other key elements of the bills include allowing courts to terminate rights in trafficking cases and giving the Department of Health and Human Services new grounds to intervene when a child is being trafficked. So they're also looking to terminate parental rights with this bill. Y'all see it right here on the screen. You see what I'm reading. Here we go. 585 victims were identified in Michigan in 2024 from 340 confirmed cases, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Said it was 585 victims identified in Michigan last year for the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Here we go. Michigan Assistant Attorney General Melissa Palepu, who leads the state's human trafficking prosecutions, also testified in front of the Senate regarding the importance of these bills. This is something serious that they're seriously pushing for right here. For this state of Michigan to adopt these federal laws pertaining to sex trafficking and also trafficking of minors. Let's go. 1 second, let me get this off the screen. Okay, here we go. Michigan ranks incredibly high for the amount of cases and confirmed cases that happen nationwide, Pelepu said. We only fall below states like Texas, California, Florida, and New York. So after Texas, California, Florida, and New York, the next state in line is Michigan. Interesting. Here we go. Despite expanding resources and awareness, Pelepu told lawmakers that according to current statistics, trafficking cases are rising, not falling. According to advocates, better legal protections will help reinforce their efforts to reach victims and offer reassurance that they can come forward. Representatives from Michigan Abolitionist Project, MAP, a statewide nonprofit organization aimed at spreading awareness in order to prevent and end human trafficking, were in Lansing Thursday in support of the bills. Yeah, they are really pushing to get these federal laws, to get these state laws mirror the federal laws when it comes to trafficking in the state of Michigan. Here we go. Heather McGannon, program coordinator for MAP, said these new laws could help more victims come forward, knowing that officials take survivors seriously. A simple Google search is going to pull up enough for you to recognize that it is happening in our state. This was the first hearing, so lawmakers will still need to make amendments, vote in committee, and move the bills through both chambers of the state legislature before any changes take effect. So they're looking to move these bills through. Like I said, 2026 will be very interesting with all these laws that's coming down throughout the United States when it comes to trafficking. Hope y'all out there paying attention. We bringing it to you right here at International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard at the Gold Star Standard. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Here we go. While better protections for victims and harsher punishment for trafficking are urgent, McGannon said discussions that have so far have shown these lawmakers recognize how critical it is for the language of these bills to be carefully considered as not to inadvertently harm more victims. It shows that our Michigan legislators want to see this done right, she said. To say to traffickers, hey, you're not welcome here, and you're not welcome in this state. They said if you bring it to Michigan, you won't be welcome to the state, but to the state penitentiary, dealing with minors for the rest of your natural life. Take heed, don't do it. Leave those children alone. Here we go. And if you decide to do this here, there are big penalties because we care enough, said McGannon. The process could take months or even a couple of years. So this could go past 2026 until 2027, but I believe it will be, these type of bills will be passed in 2026. They're pushing very hard for these. But in the meantime, MAP encourages residents to contact their lawmakers about the legislation.
Proposed legislation discussed in Lansing this week looks to change laws on human trafficking. The bills seek to increase penalties for offenders and better support victims. News 8's Kyle Mitchell joining us in studio with what changes the law could mean for prosecuting cases.
Sue, the bills have bipartisan support and were discussed yesterday at a Michigan Senate committee hearing.
There are 6 yeas, 0 nays. The bill is reported.
A series of bills proposed in Lansing look to strengthen the fight to combat human trafficking.
We've come a long way just as a country and Michigan as a state, but there's so much more that can be done to protect survivors and support them.
Becky Diffin with Safe Haven Ministries works with survivors of abuse and knows how difficult it can be to get them to come forward and identify traffickers.
From what we've seen, it's been extremely difficult. Survivors know that traffickers are likely not going to face very harsh consequences if they're even charged with trafficking at all. I know that if a person is working on the case, detectives, they might try to charge them with other laws.
In 2024, there were 340 cases confirmed in Michigan and 585 victims identified, according to the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Under the proposed changes, 16 and 17-year-olds would no longer have to worry about facing prostitution charges if they are a victim of human trafficking.
When you think about trafficking, being forced or coerced into that kind of work, their brain is not developed enough to.
And there are those words again, forced or coerced. Those are the elements needed to find you guilty of human trafficking: force, fraud, or coercion. When it comes to minors, dealing with a minor, they don't need those elements. They just have to find out that you did it, that you did deal with a minor. And they can give you up to life in prison. We're going to take this back a little bit. Make sure y'all hear this. Force, fraud, and coercion. Here we go.
Would no longer have to worry about facing prostitution charges if they are a victim of human trafficking.
When you think about trafficking, being forced or coerced into that kind of work, their brain is not developed enough to make those decisions as an adult, to engage in things like that. So it's protection for minors.
Penalties would also be increased against those convicted of trafficking. The trafficking of adults would become a 20-year felony with a $20,000 fine. It would make trafficking minors have a maximum penalty of life in prison. Diffin says holding traffickers accountable under the law is important for the victims.
I want justice for that survivor just the same as they do. And when it doesn't happen, it just goes back to Michigan as a state being better about our laws and how we're criminalizing traffickers and how we are making laws that support the victims in those cases.
One of the bills would also strengthen the Department of Health and Human Services' ability to remove a child from a home in cases of human trafficking.
Said in case of human trafficking, one of the bills will allow the removal of the child or children from the home. They're not playing with this. Leave those kids alone. Pay attention to what's going on out here. And once again, that does not make you a player when you deal with a minor. That makes you a pedophile. International Star Media, the Gold Star Standard. At the Gold Star Standard. Reactions, reviews, and news you can use. Once again, I am your host, International Yada, for the record saying of dollars, and we will see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and share. Let's go.